July 29th, National Lasagna Day. I told you yesterday we were coming back to do this one to accept the challenge and see if this is really the world's best lasagna. I didn't call it that. That's what they're calling it. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have their mother's recipe, their grandmother's recipe, their nonna's recipe, the Italians call, and I'm sure everybody's got their own favorite homemade recipe for lasagna. So it's a matter of opinion, in my opinion, but we're going to see if this lives up to this hype that they played it. Supposedly, this episode, this recipe was part of a segment on Good Morning America, like a couple years back or something like that, and after it aired, it got like 8,000 5-star reviews, like right away, like within a day or something. That's the story. So I'm guessing that's why they're calling it the world's best lasagna. I don't know. Anyway, we have all our stuff ready here. We're going to do it in stages. As you can see, I have my lasagna noodles. These are cooked already. What I did was, this is just my little secret, okay? Usually when I do lasagna in the past, I don't cook my noodles ahead of time. I don't buy those special no-boil ones because it's the same noodle. Don't believe the hype that there's some specially designed no-boil. You can use regular lasagna noodles, hard, out of the box, not cooked, as long as you have enough sauce layered in between and dumped over the top. When you bake it and cover it and bake it, it will cook through. And you will have al dente, you know, perfect, not crunchy. I've never had a crunchy piece of lasagna in my uncooked lasagna noodles ever. But today I wanted to do it the way they want you to do it, just to try it. But in the past, when I have done, I know I'm blabbering here, when I have done the lasagna where you boil the noodles ahead of time, they always get stuck together and it's a big mess, and then you drain it and you get. So what I did was I boiled them. I did exactly 8 minutes according to the box, 8 to 10 minutes. I did 8 minutes, and I took tongs and took each one out one at a time and took out my cookie cooling racks, and I just laid them flat. Now they're cooled. They're nice and firm. You know, I mean, they're cooked, but they're firm because they're al dente. So they're not going to fall apart when we go to put our, cheeses on it and everything else. Anyway, so that's it. That's why that's laying out here already. Okay, but let me show you what you need. We're going to do our sauce part of this first, because that's got to cook for like an hour or so, hour and a half. It's got to simmer on the stove and all these flavors come together. Alrighty, and then we'll come back later. We'll make our cheese part of this, and then we'll be ready to go. Alrighty, so be right back. Here's what you need for the sauce. Okay, for the sauce part of this, you will need 1 pound of sweet Italian sausage, a pound of lean ground beef, a half a cup of minced onion, 2 cloves of garlic crushed, 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, 12 ounces of tomato paste, 13 ounces of tomato sauce, a half a cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1.5 teaspoon of dried basil, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a tablespoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 4 tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley divided, and 12 lasagna noodles. Always make a couple extra, just in case. Okay, so let's get started. In our big pot here, because this is what we're going to cook our sauce in, we're going to add our ground beef, our sausage, of course, removed from the casing. You want just the filling of that, okay? Our garlic and our onion, okay? And we're just going to cook this all down until everything's nice and browned. Make sure you break up all your meat, the chopped meat and the sausage. You want to break it up into pieces. You don't want big chunks. You want nice ground up pieces of meat here, okay? And the fat from all the meat is going to help cook the onions and the garlic and everything else. So you don't really need to add any oil or anything to this. I guess you can if you wanted to. Again, I'm just following the recipe. If we're going to really test this theory, we got to do it exactly how they say. Alrighty, so let me brown this up and we'll be right back. And once your meat is all browned up, okay, now what you're going to do to this is add your crushed tomatoes. Roll that in there. Okay, your tomato sauce. Now when I buy any of the canned tomatoes or sauces or any of that stuff, I don't buy any that have that extra seasoning, like the, that says seasoned with basil and this and garlic and that. Because then what winds up happening is when you add all of your own seasonings, or the seasonings they want you to add after, now all of a sudden you have this way over seasoned sauce, and to me that just kind of can ruin a dish. Okay, then your tomato paste, and then this, here and there I may make a variation on this, nothing that would change it, but it's a half a cup of water you add to this. I saved a half a cup of the starchy pasta water, okay? Just figuring maybe that'll help, with this sauce a little bit, because they tell you to do that with a lot of sauces you make anyway, to use the pasta water to kind of stretch it, okay? So let's just mix this all together, and then we'll add our spices next. Okay, and then to this we're going to add all our spices. Our sugar, salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, basil, and 2 tablespoons of the chopped fresh parsley. Okay, save the other 2 tablespoons for later. Okay, so we're just going to make sure we mix this all really well together. Then we're going to cover this, and this is going to simmer on a low heat for about an hour, hour and a half. Really let all these flavors incorporate, okay? Our noodles are all ready. About an hour from now, I'll probably start my filling mixture with the ricotta cheese and the mozzarella and all of my Parm cheese, and we'll do that layering. We'll get that part of it ready, so that way once the sauce is ready, we're ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. Let's just get this thing in the oven, man, because I need some lunch, because this is making me hungrier and hungrier as we go. Alrighty? Be back in a little bit, everybody. Get our cheese filling ready. I'm not going to show you separately, I'll just show you. It's 16 ounces, according to the recipe, of ricotta cheese. So this is a 32 ounce container, so half of this, but who doesn't love more cheese? So of course, I may not do the whole 32 ounces, but I'm going to take a little more than 16. Just because I'd rather have more than enough cheese than not enough. You know what I mean? Or have a thin layer of cheese. Like it extra cheesy. Everything extra cheesy. My pizza extra cheesy. My lasagna extra cheesy. So here's my ricotta cheese. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add an egg, which is new to me because I've never done the egg and the ricotta cheese thing. I guess it's supposed to, it probably helps bind everything together, so it's a very good idea. Just something I've never done. I've just, mixed the different cheeses. Usually I mix the some of the Parmesan cheese and some of the mozzarella cheese in with my ricotta cheese to make it extra, so you have lots of cheese through the whole thing. But we're following this recipe and what they say. Now you're going to take your other 2 tablespoons of parsley, fresh chopped parsley, and you're going to mix that in as well. Okay? Okay, so we're ready to assemble. Okay? I'm going to take a nice ladle of our sauce here. It's nice and thick and meaty, as you can see. Let's take a couple ladles of that, just because you want to put that on the bottom. Not too much, but you want to make sure that you coat the bottom of our pan here. Okay, it's a 9 by 13. Okay, and then now what you're going to do is, the directions say to lay your noodles down and then spread your stuff, but it's probably easier to spread it and then lay it down. See, so you can, because when you drop it down there and then you try to spread it, it kind of moves all over the place. You know what I mean? Woo! So what I want to do is I'm just going to lay it down here on my counter, and I'm just going to spread some of this. I should probably use something smaller, like a tablespoon. And just spread some of my cheese mixture onto my noodle. Okay? Then take the noodle and put it into your pan. Well, these are nice long ones too. They're going to go right all the way to the sides. Okay, so we're going to have some extra noodles. Now, this recipe, they only do 2 layers. What the heck are you doing 2 layers for? Do 3 if you can. 4 if you can, if you really can. So, I'm going to layer this out. Then I'm going to sprinkle some of my mozzarella cheese. Parmesan cheese, another layer of sauce, noodles, repeat, repeat, repeat. You know what I mean? Until you use up all your noodles or all your stuff or whatever. Or you make it as high as you want. But don't go too high, because you don't want it to overflow out of this pan into your oven, okay? So we'll be right back when this is going to go into the oven. What we're going to do is sauce the top of this. Now we're going to cover it with foil. We're going to bake it for 25 minutes, covered. Then we're going to take the foil off and bake it for another 25 minutes uncovered, just so you get those nice crispy edges on it, okay? And then we're going to take it out. We're going to let it rest for a little bit, because you never cut into a lasagna right away. That thing's got to settle down and rest and all come together. And then we're going to cut a big hunk of this, and we're going to have some lunch, alrighty? See you in a little while when this thing comes out of the oven. I might even throw a little more mozzarella cheese on the top when I'm going into that browning stage. Second half of the 25, alrighty? See you in a bit. Alright, there she is out of the oven. She's been resting for a little bit. And now we're ready to cut a piece of this and see if it's the world's best lasagna. It looks really good. We'll see when we take it out what our layers turned out like. It's always hard to get that first piece out. That's why you kind of want to let it rest. First piece always comes out a little mangled, right? Just get that first piece out of there. Okay. A little messy, but who cares? Look at that. All right, let's give this one a try. See what we got here. Let's see if this is the world's best lasagna. Okay, just one final note as I'm sitting here eating my lasagna. The only thing about it that I'm not that I'm not liking, it's very salty. So definitely on this recipe, you can totally cut back on the salt. I wouldn't even add the salt in the beginning. If you want to add a little bit of salt to the cheese mixture, you can leave that out and just do this. It doesn't need to be this salty. But that's the only downside I would say to it. Alrighty, see you tomorrow.